Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to be talking about Andrea Mitchell,
Oh, yeah, Andrea Mitchell.
a journalist who's been around for over 5 decades, from the Cold War to the age of Twitter. She's seen it all
I mean, she's interviewed everyone, presidents, dictators, you name it.
and won a ton of awards, but she's also faced some pretty harsh criticism along the way. So I guess that's kind of our mission today, right?
Yeah, to figure out how she navigated, this male-dominated world.
Right, and became this icon of journalism.
What's really crazy to think about is that Mitchell started out in the late 1960s when there were almost no women in political journalism,
Especially foreign affairs.
especially foreign affairs.
I can't even imagine what those newsrooms were like back then.
Oh, it was a different world.
Totally different. So not only to survive, but to thrive in that environment, you'd have to be seriously tough and talented.
Oh, for sure.
And she obviously was, right? Because she moved up pretty quickly
Very quickly.
and became NBC's chief foreign affairs correspondent.
Which is like a huge deal.
That's not just reporting the news. It's shaping how we understand global events.
Yeah, exactly. And think about the events she was covering. The end of the Cold War, the whole U.S.-Soviet relationship, Iraq, Afghanistan.
Those are some of the biggest events of our time.
Defining moments in history. And for a lot of people, she was their, guide.
Totally. Helping make sense of these complicated events.
Right.
It's amazing to think about that kind of responsibility, especially back then when information wasn't a click away.
That's true. People relied on journalists like Mitchell.
Yeah, they were like the interpreters.
Exactly.
But of course, with that visibility comes a lot of scrutiny.
Oh, yeah. You can't be that well known and not have some controversy.
Right, it comes with the territory.
It does.
And one of the most, talked about moments
Yeah.
was her interview with Kamala Harris
Oh, the Kamala Harris interview.
back when she was a senator.
Right.
And Mitchell really pressed her on Medicare for All.
Yeah.
And the whole thing got pretty heated.
It did.
And of course, this sparked tons of criticism.
From both sides.
Yeah, from both sides. Some people thought she was too tough on Harris.
And others loved it. They thought she was holding her accountable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's funny, right? Throughout her career, Mitchell has been accused of bias from both sides.
From both ends of the spectrum.
It makes you wonder, if everybody's unhappy, are you doing something right?
Interesting, right?
Yeah, is that a sign of balance?
You know, in journalism, objectivity is what everyone strives for.
Right. It's the gold standard.
But in reality, it's really hard to achieve.
Yeah, especially with these complex, divisive issues.
Exactly. And Mitchell, she's committed to asking those tough questions, no matter who you are.
She doesn't shy away from anything.
No.
So maybe that's why she ends up in the middle, where no one's totally happy.
Could be.
And it's not just politicians, right? I mean, remember that incident where she mixed up, it was about Iran.
Oh, right.
She said Iran had threatened to kidnap American soldiers, but it was Israeli soldiers.
Right.
And social media,
Went nuts.
yeah, completely blew up. And it just shows how even a small mistake,
Especially these days.
yeah, can become a huge thing.
It's like the margin for error is so tiny.
It's scary, almost.
It is.
But what's interesting is that she always owns up to it. She clarifies, she corrects, she doesn't hide.
She addresses it head on.
Yeah, she does.
And that's important,
It is.
especially in journalism.
Which shows a commitment to truth, I guess.
Definitely.
And she actually has a quote about this. She said, "My job isn't to make people comfortable. It's to ensure they understand the issues that matter."
I like that.
It's pretty powerful.
It is.
It really sums up her whole approach.
Ever.
Okay, but let's shift gears for a minute and talk about some of her accomplishments. Because she's won some pretty impressive awards.
Oh, yeah.
Like being a regular anchor for Meet the Press.
That's a big deal.
That's huge in the world of political journalism.
Absolutely.
And then there's the Matrix Award
yeah.
from Women in Communications
Yeah. That one's for women who've made significant contributions.
to the field of media.
Exactly.
And then there's the Leonard Seidenberg Award.
Which is for outstanding achievement in broadcast journalism.
I mean, these aren't just participation trophies. They show how much respect she has in the industry.
Exactly.
And you can't talk about Mitchell without talking about her interviewing style.
Oh, it's legendary.
It's direct, it's informed. She's not afraid to really push her subjects.
Which is probably why she gets so many big interviews.
Right. And speaking of big interviews, she interviewed Fidel Castro
Oh, wow.
back in 2002. That must have been intense.
I can't even imagine.
That interview is like a textbook example of foreign affairs reporting.
Sitting across from Fidel Castro at the height of his power.
And asking him tough questions about Cuba.
About human rights, about their political system, their relationship with the U.S.
And she didn't back down.
Not one bit.
Apparently, he opened up in a way that no one had seen before.
It's remarkable.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it shows her courage, too. Because, she started in the 80s.
When it was almost all men.
Yeah, political journalism was a total boys' club.
Absolutely.
So just her presence there was huge.
What is groundbreaking?
It paved the way for so many other women.
Oh, absolutely.
And the media landscape, even though it still has a long way to go, it's definitely more inclusive now.
Thanks to women like Andrea Mitchell.
Definitely.
For sure. One thing that really stands out to me about Mitchell's career is her commitment to covering the tough stories, the ones that, take you right into the heart of things.
Right, like being on the ground, in conflict zones, not just reporting from a studio.
Exactly, and that takes a lot of courage.
It does, it takes guts.
Not just physical courage either, but intellectual courage too.
How so?
Well, she's interviewing world leaders, challenging their views, asking them really hard questions.
And doing all that while navigating these complex political situations.
Yeah.
It's like walking a tightrope. And it's not just about getting the interview right. It's about asking the right questions.
Absolutely. The questions that actually get to the heart of the matter.
That hold people accountable.
Exactly.
And she's a master at that.
She is. And she does it all with this incredible composure, even under pressure.
Yeah, she never seems to get rattled.
Nope.
And she's not just reporting the facts. She's providing context, analysis, insight.
Helping us understand these really complicated situations.
Right, and I think that's what makes her so effective.
Yeah, she connects with people.
On a personal level.
Yeah, like she's not just this talking head on TV. She's someone who's shared her own struggles.
Like her battle with breast cancer.
Right.
And her experiences as a woman in a male-dominated field.
And that's so important, especially these days when people are looking for authenticity.
Yeah, like they want to see the human side of things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And by sharing her own story, she humanizes herself.
Makes her relatable.
Right. And it also empowers others.
People who are going through similar things.
It reminds us that even the most accomplished people have their own vulnerabilities.
Yeah, they're human.
And their own triumphs, too.
And speaking of triumphs, let's not forget her impact on the next generation of journalists.
Oh, absolutely.
She's a mentor, a role model.
An inspiration.
For so many aspiring reporters.
Especially young women.
Right.
Who see in her what's possible in this field.
It's a tough field.
It is.
But also incredibly rewarding.
It is if you're passionate about it.
And she's clearly passionate about it.
Oh, yeah.
And she's also a vocal advocate for diversity and inclusion in newsrooms.
Which is so important.
It is.
Because a wider range of voices leads to more comprehensive coverage.
Of the world.
Exactly.
And that's a great reminder that journalism is about reflecting the world we live in.
With all its complexity.
And diversity.
Yes.
And that requires voices from all different backgrounds.
From all walks of life.
People who can speak to the experiences of those who are often overlooked.
Absolutely.
And that's where Mitchell's legacy really shines.
I agree.
She's not just a reporter. She's a voice for the voiceless.
A champion for truth and accountability.
And a role model for those who want to make a difference. Through journalism.
It's really inspiring to see how she's remained relevant throughout her career.
Right, like adapting to all the changes in media.
Embracing new technology.
Connecting with audiences in new ways.
It's incredible.
It's the sign of a true professional.
Someone who's always learning, growing, evolving.
She's a master of her craft.
But she's also still a student.
Always looking for new knowledge, new perspective.
Always trying to engage with the world in new ways.
And in doing so, she's not just reporting on the news, she's shaping it.
Influencing it.
And leaving her mark on the world of journalism.
And beyond.
Her career is a testament to perseverance, integrity, and that relentless pursuit of truth.
It's a reminder that journalism, at its best, can be a force for good.
A catalyst for change.
A beacon of hope.
In a world that often feels uncertain.
And chaos.
And as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, it's clear that Andrea Mitchell's story is far from over.
She's still breaking barriers.
Challenging conventions.
And inspiring a new generation of journalists.
It's wild to think how much the media world has changed. Since Mitchell started out, from like typewriters and telegrams
Right.
to the internet and social media.
A whole different world.
And she's not just kept up, she's thrived.
She has. I mean, what's the secret? How do you stay at the top of your game for like 5 decades?
It's got to be a few things, right?
Yep.
First, she's incredibly curious. She always wants to learn more,
Oh, yeah.
to dig deeper, to understand the why behind the headlines.
And she doesn't just like accept things at face value.
No, not at all.
She really analyzes things.
She combines that curiosity with intellectual rigor.
And she can take these like complex ideas and make them understandable.
For everyone.
And let's not forget her tenacity. I mean, she's known for asking those tough questions
Oh, yeah.
and not letting people off the hook.
Especially powerful people. Exactly.
I think
It takes guts
It does.
to stand up to those kinds of figures.
I think that fearlessness comes from her deep belief in the power of journalism.
Like, she really believes in it.
She does. She sees it as a public service.
Essential for democracy.
Exactly.
And that conviction, it really shows in her work.
It does.
Because for her, it's not just about reporting the news. It's about understanding how it affects people's lives.
Right, like the human impact.
The human impact. Oh, I mean, think about it. She's covered wars, famines, natural disasters, political upheavals.
Those are events that shape history.
It gives you a different perspective
It does.
when you see those things firsthand.
And a profound sense of responsibility, too.
Because you're not just relaying information.
You're sharing people's stories,
Their struggles.
their triumphs.
And knowing that your reporting can actually have an impact on their lives.
That's powerful.
It is. And she carries that weight with, like, grace and empathy.
And she's done it all while navigating the ups and downs of the media world.
Oh, yeah. The criticism, the controversies.
The pressure to be first, to be right.
To be provocative.
It's a tough business.
It is.
But she's stayed focused on her mission.
To inform, to empower her audience.
And she's become more than just a journalist.
She has
She's a role model.
an inspiration.
A testament to hard work, dedication, and a commitment to the truth.
It's amazing.
Her career really shows how much journalism matters, especially today.
With all the information overload,
The echo chambers, the misinformation,
we need voices like hers
voices that challenge us,
that hold those in power accountable,
that remind us to ask questions,
to stay informed,
to have real conversations about the issues that matter.
to be engaged.
Exactly. And her story also shows that we all have a role to play in the future of journalism,
Like, we're all part of it.
whether it's supporting credible news sources,
Or engaging in thoughtful discussions.
just staying informed.
We can all contribute to a more informed and engaged society. So as we wrap up our deep dive today, I'm going to leave you with some words from Andrea Mitchell herself. She said, "Keep asking questions. Never stop seeking answers. And above all, never lose sight of why you started."
That's perfect.
Pretty powerful, right?
It really captures the essence of her work.
It does.
A life dedicated to truth, to informing the public, to making a difference in the world.
And that's what it's all about. Well, that concludes our deep dive into the incredible career of Andrea Mitchell. Thanks for joining us.